I went from this to this with only 9 minutes of mobility work per day. Here's how you can do the same. Get into position here. In the past 2 years, I've done 6,550 minutes or 109 hours of yoga with the Skill Yoga app. That might sound like a lot, but when you divide it by the number of days, that's only about 9 minutes of yoga per day. My yoga practice has also been remarkably inconsistent. I've had an entire month pass by without any yoga. And to top it off, I'm extraordinarily bad at yoga. Even the very basic yoga moves pose a challenge to me.
Downward facing dog is supposed to be a resting position. It has never been that to me.
But the interesting thing is that even with this inconsistency and this total lack of skills, my results have been pretty good. Let's start with the obvious stuff. Every time I do yoga, my mood improves and I feel more energetic afterwards.
Honestly, like, yoga is amazing.
It's quite obvious why that happens, why there is such a big improvement in mood. The physical exercise floods your brain with endorphins, which are also called your feel-good hormones, as they reduce the perception of pain and trigger feelings of euphoria. And yes, that is straight from a Google search. Combine that with breathing and meditation, which have been connected to reductions in your body's stress hormone cortisol, and you've got yourself a feel-good cocktail. No surprises there, really. Exercise and mindfulness make you feel good. Yoga also might have helped me with aches and muscle soreness related to training. This is purely anecdotal, but before I started doing yoga, I often had hip pain while running. When I added yoga to my training program, and I didn't add anything else, my hip pain was gone in a few weeks. Many of the poses, such as supine, figure 4, half pigeon pose, and low lunge, all open up your hips, so there's a very high probability that yoga is to blame for the miraculous recovery of my aching hip. Yoga has also improved my warm-ups. For instance, before my runs, I often do a lower body warm-up session from the Skill Yoga library. And these are sessions that focus on dynamic movements and do not have any long stretches, because long stretches generally are not that good before a workout. So yoga has become a great way for me to transition from sitting at my desk doing all kinds of desk jobs to training with high intensity. And finally, yoga is a great addition to my recovery days. On the Skill Yoga app, I can filter the library based on the workout goal. And if I set the goal to rest and recover, I get a bunch of sessions that are done with a lower intensity and that are more focused on calming the mind and the body. I also use these sort of sessions after tough workouts, and they might help reduce the dreaded DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. I'm really hoping I'm in focus. But all of these metrics I've been talking about are pretty anecdotal. They're very subjective. You can't really draw any conclusions from them. So let's try to find something a bit more objective. About 2 years ago, I did some flexibility tests. And a few days ago, I repeated those tests. Now, we're gonna see if and how much my flexibility and mobility have changed. Let's first look at the body composition. Got no idea why I'm doing that face. But anyways, I mean, I look pretty much the same. Another thing I was interested in is my posture and whether it has changed over the years. And the answer is that no, it hasn't really changed. Okay, well, let's look at mobility. So downward facing dog for me is just so hard. It feels like every part of my body is fighting against that pose. But as you can see from these tests, it seems like I can get a bit deeper in the pose. This triangle pose, however, is a lot better. I remember I couldn't even touch the floor when I was in this pose 2 years ago, but now that's nothing for me. Like, my hamstrings have become much more flexible. And then a crow pose, that certainly has gotten better, similar to headstands, even though I rarely ever do headstands during my yoga practice. That's definitely one skill that you can easily acquire from yoga. Just takes some getting used to. And now this was really surprising to me. This is eagle pose. 2 years ago, could not do it. No way. And it felt very unstable. But now, it felt pretty good. I felt stable in that position, which requires mobility in pretty much everywhere. Then we look at the bridge, which is a very good basic move that one should be able to do. 2 years ago, I couldn't get into it. And now, still not looking perfect, but you know, that's kind of a bridge. And then, yeah, here you can see my overhead mobility, shoulder raise, and it still sucks. This is what I was hoping to improve, like an overhead squat, but you can still see a butt wink at the lower portion of the squat. So you should be able to do this with your feet like 5 centimeters off the wall. 2 years ago, I was able to do it 20 centimeters off the wall. And now I was able to do it 15 centimeters off the wall. So it's not a major improvement, but it's still improvement. Like if you just look at my arms during this overhead squat, think about having weight on those hands. They're not pointing upwards so that they would actually be balancing the weight over my head. No, they're like in front, right here. So if I would now start doing overhead squats with weights, I would just go like, whoop. So yeah. But then we get to flexibility, and I was pretty amazed how much my flexibility has improved. Standing forward fold, look at that. 2 years ago, couldn't even touch the floor. Now I can almost do a palms to floor. Similarly, you can see it here, definite improvement. And this move is harder to cheat, so good results. And you gotta remember, 9 minutes per day, only about. Wait. It's loading. Loading. Here's the biggie. This is a sit and reach test, which is one of the most common tests of flexibility. 2 years ago, I was able to reach 77 centimeters, and now I did 94. So I was very pleased with that. My middle split was even better. I went from 165 centimeters to 199 centimeters. Am I close to a middle split? No! And front splits went from, well, I couldn't even get my legs straight, to me being in a partial front split, which is actually looking pretty amazing already. And that's coming from a guy who thought that he could never be flexible, so. However, I've also learned that I shouldn't expect to see results fast. Flexibility and mobility take time. You can't really just rush through it by stretching 3 hours a day. I think a much better strategy is to create a short and simple mobility routine that you can do every day, or at least almost every day. Something that is so simple that you really have no excuse to not do it. And as you've seen in this video, one easy way to build that mobility routine is to use the Skill Yoga app. I would encourage you to try their 7-day yoga challenge, which consists of 7 short and fun sessions aiming at building or kickstarting your mobility routine. If you click the link below, you can redeem a free month of Skill Yoga. And I'll get a small commission if you do click the link and start the trial, so you'll also be supporting this channel. And even if you don't want this specific app, I would highly encourage you to at least try yoga. Just 10 minutes a day can make a big difference. Okay, thanks, bye. Oh, I mean, I'm getting flexible, but not this flexible. Oh, woo. That was tough for my hip. Oh, ah.